Thank you. It's really great to be here. I think we're all set. What if you could view 10,000 documents on a single computer screen all at once in a meaningful way? This is a question a challenge that Muriel Cooper posed to Earl, myself, and the rest of our classmates in the fall of '93 at the Visible Language Workshop of the Media Lab at MIT. The question assumes that, of course, that the documents have some value and there's some meaning to the set as a whole. But Muriel's real focus, I believe, was the screen real estate problem, a problem that didn't exist for her in her print designing days at the MIT Press, because in print, more information can usually be solved with more pages. Okay. Now, one of the solutions to the screen problem that Muriel worked on at the Media Lab or oversaw was simply to try to get more real estate. And until recently, the Visible Language Workshop housed one of the largest computer displays in the world, 6,000 by 2,000 pixels. Another less costly solution was to remove any page-like qualities from the display. In other words, to treat it not as a surface, but as a window to an infinitely expandable space of information. I'm going to hold this. The information landscape, as Muriel put it. Since that fall of '93, Earl and I have been working on information spaces as solutions to the problem of organizing, viewing, and navigating through large amounts of information in this limited amount of screen real estate. Before Earl shows you a demo of the product that we're working on now, I'll show a few slides of the Media Lab projects to give you some context of our previous work. Slides, please. And lower light, if possible. Okay. This is Financial Viewpoints, which was a project that visualized mutual fund data in a volume that could be sliced or sectioned along different axes, like an architectural model. If we can get a little bit darker, that would be good. So multiple representations of the data, such as bar charts and graphs, could be viewed in one space at one time. Yeah, lights would be better. Continue. The next project is Galaxy of News. This is a project that Earl did that's, I think, been quite influential on some other projects that we've been seeing around. This project provided both a spatial and a rather sophisticated computational solution to the problem of getting a lot of information in a pretty small space. And in this case, what he did was he had an algorithm that extracted keywords from online news articles, and then he organized them into a space that one could fly through. And as you move into the space, into the Z dimension of the space, more and more information is revealed until finally the headlines and the articles appear. And finally, this was a joint project called the Millennium Project that organized a historical database from the early 20th century in this temporal, geographical, and categorical view. This is the temporal geographical view showing a thread. We had these threads that were guided tours through the database. This is the flight thread that actually took you through these events. And it was quite an immersive space, layered time. Okay, in January of '96, Earl and I hooked up with another Media Lab classmate who's here today, Nicolas St. Arnaud, motivated by Muriel's original challenge of visualizing large amounts of information. We began to work on a solution that would leverage the vast amounts of quality information that we do believe exists out there on the web and on our local intranets. We contacted Steve Holtzman, who's our CEO, and Nicholas Negroponte, who's on our board of directors, and formed Perspecta to bring the ideas out of the lab, so to speak, to solve real-world problems. Our first product is based on Galaxy of News, and it's designed to be like an information lens on a large collection of unstructured online documents. It's client-server software written in Java that runs on a PC. And that's in contrast, by the way, to the $250,000 Silicon Graphics workstations that we have the luxury to play with at the Media Lab. Take it, Earl.
Thank you, Lisa. What we're about to demonstrate is an early prototype that we put together for one of our customers that takes online information technology industry news websites, information collected from these sources, and it aggregates them together and to present them in what we call an information space. Here we use an information space as a medium to navigate and also as a medium for exchanging information between the user and an intelligent server, which has collected, aggregated, and integrated this information together. By moving from concept to concept within the space, the user can ask questions continuously, and based on feedback, they can find what they're looking for. During this visual discourse, the mechanics of refining a search are transparent to the user. As you got up here. And David Clark here is going to be our Director of Product Marketing, is going to drive us through the demo as we go through. Okay. Our interaction begins here with the presentation of these set of top-level topics. These topics form the entry points into a dialogue with this intelligent server. Topics such as Microsoft, Netscape, and Internet, and Java, and so forth are hot topics or themes which are derived directly from the contents of the articles. Our server has gone out and gathered these information from the original websites and has analyzed them, extracted out information about them, and built a relational structure of the concepts which you're seeing here on the screen. We performed this analysis ahead of time to provide a real-time conversation, a real-time interaction exchange with this intelligent server, so that the server can inform us about this information technology news. These topics that we're seeing on here are the hot topics that would tell us what's hot in the IT industry news, and they change as the industry changes. Topics such as corporate news, networking, and people remain relatively constant and are fairly specific to this domain, and they allow us for familiar ways of accessing information. Now, let's say that I'm interested in a topic of Oracle's network computer. How would I approach finding this information? Now, if I move into the topic of corporate news, and as I do, the system responds to my movement through the space and unfolds and shows us subtopics under corporate news, such as Sybase, and Novell, and Formix, which is, by the way, is one of our corporate sponsors, corporate partners. And here we have Oracle. If we move into Oracle, we find NCs, which is represented for network computers. And if we move into NC, the system further responds and pulls up the set of headlines for the news articles. And further, and these news articles are reflected from a number of different places, such as PC Week, InfoWorld, and so forth. It's aggregated this content together into a single source, so that we don't have to sort of go out and collect this information from various different sites. We can all find it by navigating through the concepts here. Now, if we move in closer, the system sort of drops in basically a summary of the articles, so we can browse for them before we go and access them. And if we click on the headlines, we can access the original source. This is articles from PC Week and PC Week. Now, this series of movements illustrate what we call progressive disclosure of information. As we move forward in the space, the system, we indirectly interact with this intelligent server, which responds by our movements and gives us increasingly finer levels of detail. This movement-based model of interaction hides the complexity of Boolean searches and allows us to focus on the information rather than the mechanics of the information. This actually is a very important point. What we defined here is a grammar for how we interact with intelligent server via these information spaces, where the grammar is transparent to the user. It's much like learning, like children as they learn English. They don't know the syntax, the mechanics of language. It's transparent, but they're still able to communicate very effectively. Now, if we can go back to our original context here. We can sort of expand out to the top level. Now, I could have approached the topic of Oracle's network computer from a different perspective. I know that the network computer uses Java technology, so I could have approached it from the hot topic at the top level, such as Java. If I move into Java, obviously here is in C, and if I move in here, I can access some of the original documents. as well as some additional documents from the Yankee group and so forth. So we can have effectively, the information here contained here is multidimensional, and it allows us to have multiple different pathways to access the information. In general, what this process kind of illustrates is our ability to read information about the whole collection of documents at a very high level without having to go in and read all the information. We can read it from dynamically as we interact with the computer, with the system, and access information to increasing levels of detail. It's basically summarized and presents it to us. Now, if we're interested in seeing connections or cross correlations amongst topics, we can bring up these red lines here, which indicate connections between different topics, such as Java. And with these red lines, we can quickly see that there's a tight connection between the PC, Netscape, Internet, and so forth. And we can also tell sort of non-correlations, such as Java between AOL and Java and Apple and NT. So that we can see things which are not positively correlated. So basically, to sort of summarize here, what this prototype demonstrates is the use of an immersive information space as an interaction medium exchange between the user and an intelligent server. And we call this exchange, what we call it is visual discourse. Now, since the development of this prototype, we have formed Perspecta, and we've grown the company to about 20 people now, and we've rebuilt the system onto a scalable architecture and as a product. And we will be bringing this product to you in a screen near you very shortly. So stay tuned.